second day of the 7 days of learning program. And the topic for today's session is HTML practical labs. So before jumping on to the practical labs, we'll first of all see the recap of HTML elements which we discussed yesterday. And going forward, we'll see how we can write headings, how we can insert lists, how we can add links and images to a web page. So most of the things which you generally do on Microsoft Office or Google Docs, all those formatting you can also do on the web page. We'll also be covering most of the HTML part today, but let me tell you one thing. HTML is not something which can be learned totally in few days. So if you like, if even if you practice for 7 days, you cannot learn HTML 100%. So you need to practice and dedicate your efforts to master HTML, and that may take time. So be patient and don't worry about that. So next up, we'll see how we can format using HTML tags. So for an example, if you want to bold some text, or if you want to underline some text, then HTML formatting tags are the key which we might use. And after learning few HTML tags, we'll also see the difference between inline elements and block elements. And knowing about these two topics is very important. So by the time, we'll also see how we can create tables using HTML, how you can how we can create forms to collect user input using HTML. So today's agenda is really power packed. So let's get started. Am I perfectly audible, visible to all of you? Okay. Okay. Thanks. Going on to the next slide, as I mentioned earlier, you can follow up your learnings on GitHub. I also added a slide over here just to run a quick reminder. So I have already shared the link in the chat section, so you can refer that. And going next, here is the agenda, and let us go to the recap of HTML elements. Okay, so here you can see two different HTML elements. And let me tell you that HTML can be written in lowercase, it can also be written in uppercase, but the standard practice of writing HTML is generally lowercase. HTML also have start tag, it also has content in between those. So for an example, if we see h1 tag here, so when we see the first tag, it is h1, which is the start tag. We also have hello world exclamation mark, which is the content between both these tags. And at the end, we have an end tag, which is containing the forward slash. We also have empty HTML. We also have empty HTML elements which do not have an end tag. So for an example, if we see, we can see the BR tag on the screen, right? So that is a line break tag, and it is one of the example of empty element. The line break is used to leave a line between two different HTML elements. So going on to next slide. Is the presentation visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thanks. Okay, so after yesterday's session, who all actually try to create such HTML document, or have you ever created such kind of HTML document earlier? Please let me know. Okay, glad to know that. I hope now you know how to create an HTML document and run that in the browser. So going on to the next topic for today, which is heading headings, lists, links, and images. So let's get started with all these HTML tags. So now we will focus on each topic at one time, and let's get started with headings first. So heading tags are basically used to show titles or subtitles on the web page. And for an example, here you can see headings. The word headings is already a heading, right? So whenever we want to, show something which should be bold, which should be bigger, and we also want the meaning of the heading to be very semantic. At that time, we use heading tags. And headings are block level elements. So they take up 100% of the width of the screen. So even if you place any tag beside heading, that will go on the next line. We'll learn about block level elements and inline elements in detail later in this section. But I just wanted to give you an idea about what block level elements are. So heading tags are written as H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So if you take H1, then H1 will be bigger in size, and it is also considered more important by the browser. So whenever, for an example, Google indexes your web page, and it tries to understand what content is there on your website. So it will use H1 as they will generally use that as a heading. So do not use heading tags when you just need to bold some text, or those are not actually headings. So just use heading tags for headings part. And as I mentioned that H1 is bigger in size, so H6 will be smaller in size in opposite to that, and it will also consider least important. And okay, so let us see how actually we can write HTML tags. So this is how we can create headings using HTML. So on the first line, you can see HTML headings is written. Let me just share the pointer. Okay. So this is how basically we write comments in HTML. So if wherever you see this kind of line structure, it is not an HTML code, but it is a HTML comment. And HTML like comments are just for understanding purpose. So there's no meaning to that, but just to understand. So whenever you see comments in the code, it is used for others to understand what exactly the code is about. So here you can see H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and here H1 will be the largest. It will contain the largest. It's basically the largest DOM element when compared to all the headings, and we'll see the demo part. We'll see how all the headings look like in the later part. But for now, we are just trying to understand and learn a little bit about some HTML tags. Okay, so list. Whenever we want to show a group of items which are related to each other, then we use list. So for an example, let us consider a list could be a shopping list, it could be a list of hobbies, it could also be a movie list or any kind of list. So you might have seen two kind of lists, right? Maybe in a word processor or a Microsoft Office or Google Docs. So basically there are two types of list. One is ordered list and another is unordered list. So ordered lists are marked with numbers, while unordered lists are marked with bullets. And also all these list items are block level elements, so they take up 100% of the width of the web page. We'll see how it looks like on the demo part, but for now let us see how the code is written. So this is how we can create lists. So for unordered list, we need to use the OR tag. which itself says that unordered list and sorry, ordered list. And for unordered list, we need to use UL tag, which also itself says UL, unordered list. And inside list, we need to specify list items. So for an example, we have 3 list items, then we can simply put li tag inside those, and this is how we need to write ordered and unordered list. Any questions so far?
No, it's quite clear.
Okay, okay. Moving on, we have links. So links generally allow users to navigate around the web, and links can be of different forms. So links can be it could be text, it could be image, or it could be any kind of HTML element. What we need to do is that we just need to pass href. Href is basically hypertext reference to create such links. And link is an inline element. So till now we have heard about block level elements, but link is something that if we create a link over here, then other content can also be placed besides that. So it will only take up the required space on the web page. Okay. So coming down to how we can write the code of HTML links. So the A tag, anchor tag, is used to write to place HTML links on the web page, and hrefs. So whenever we see any HTML tag, and when we see something is attached in the start tag, that is known as attribute. So here the A tag, you can see this is the starting, this is the start tag, and here href is the attribute. So we'll see a lot of attributes in different HTML elements. Here we need to pass the URL of the website. So for an example, we see GDG Jalandhar, then we need to pass the website of GDG Jalandhar, and it will show GDG Jalandhar only on the web page. Here you can place anything, but this is how generally we can wrap links to any kind of HTML. Also, when we want all the users to open the link to open the web page on another tab or another window, then we need to use target equals to underscore blank. This is also an HTML attribute, which as mentioned, this is the start tag, and whenever we see such kind of structure, something equals to something, then it is HTML attribute. So generally, a link which is not visited is will be shown in underlined and blue color. Whichever link which is visited, it will be shown in underlined and purple color, and an active link is underlined in red color. We'll see more of these on the demo part, but let's just see how we can write the basic HTML tags. Okay. So coming down to images. So you know, right, that adding images to any type of content is always appreciated. So images generally enhance the look and feel of web pages, and to add an image, we need to use the image tag. And let me tell you that image tag is an empty element. So we also saw BR tag, which was an empty element, and we have image tag, which is an empty element. So here we just need to write img, and we need to pass on attributes, but it does not have an ending element. Also, as mentioned, it is an inline element, so anything can be placed on the besides of an image. Okay, so here we have two different comments. HTML images, image tag is an empty element, and we have the image tag over here. Now here we have four different attributes. We have src, which is the source, we have ALT, which is the alternative text. We have width and height. So whenever you want to place an image, we need to store that image somewhere. That could be on a database, that could be also on the file structure. So we need to pass the path of that image here. And for an example, your image is missing, or if the internet is slow and the image is not able to load, then this alternative text will be displayed on the website. So generally, for an example, if I'm placing the logo of GDG Jalanda over here, then I will write GDG Jalanda logo. So we also can, style the size of the image. So we can use width and height attributes over here. And these values are generally considered in pixels. Okay, so I hope we are clear with headings, lists, links, and images. And now let's quickly jump to HTML formatting. Okay. So now we are going to see 4 different tags. So here we see bold, strong, italic, and emphasized text. So bold tag is generally used when you want to style the text in bold. For an example, it is compared to word processor. So when we want to bold some text, we can use the bold tag over here in HTML. We can also use the strong tag in HTML, but that is having a semantic meaning of importance. So whenever you just don't want to style the content, but when you also want the browser to know that this is something important, then we should use strong tag. The look of bold tag and strong tag is very similar. You might not be able to differentiate between those, but it has a semantic, kind of a logical meaning behind that. Going on to next, italic and emphasized text. So whenever we want the textual content of a website in italics, we can use italic. And whenever we want the text uh, with some emphasis. So for an example, uh, so generally there is something called screen readers. So there are specially abled people for an example, who are not able to see. And they generally use screen readers to understand all the website. So whenever the screen reader is conversing about all the web content, then it will it will it will read the emphasized text in a heavy tone, in a different kind of tone. So the people who are not able to see the text will be understand that this is something which is having some kind of importance. So this is how we can write the HTML for this kind of formatting. So for bold, we generally use B. For important and strong text, we use strong tag. For italic text, we use I, and for emphasized text, we use EM. These are generally very easy to remember text. So I hope you might not face any kind of difficulties in that. And moving on to other HTML formatting tags. So again comparing to a word processor. So if you want to highlight some text, we can use the mark tag in HTML. Whenever we want something in smaller size, so we can use small tag. Whenever we want something to look like procrastination here, then we can use del deleted text tag. Whenever we want superscripted text, so here you can see that 10 is on about, or is above X. So whenever we want to use this kind of thing, we can use superscripted text. And whenever we want 10 below X, then we can use subscript. And this is how we can write the code. So for an example, Uh, okay, I see you wanna see the demo. Sure, we'll see the demo very quickly. Let me just complete with this part, and then we can see how it will look like on the browser and how it looks like on the code part. So, for an example, whenever we want to use mark, it is also an inline element. So we can place it inside paragraph tag or h1 tag or any kind of tag. And same goes with small. So small tags also can be denoted in this way, and it generally lowers the size of the text. Same goes with delete. Same goes with subscript and superscript. These are pretty easy tags to learn. Okay, so I'll quickly cover inline element and block elements, and then we will see the demo for these tags. Okay. Okay. So now let us understand these in detail. Okay. So inline elements are basically the HTML elements which occupy only the necessary width according to the content. So for an example, we saw mark tag, uh, we saw anchor tag, we saw image. So all of these generally use whatever space. So for an example, if we have mentioned that an image should be of 200 pixels, height of 200 pixels, and a width of 200 pixels, then all the size, all the space besides the image would be free for all other HTML elements. But for an example, if we use heading, so heading, if even if it is occupying this much of space, it will occupy the whole width of the screen. So it will not let anything to be on besides on that element, on the block element. So paragraph is something which is a block element. All the headings are block elements. We'll actually get an idea when we see the code part. So let's let's see the code part. Let me just quickly share my other screen. To you. Okay, okay. Let me set up little bit. Okay, so the code and the HTML part is visible to everyone, right? Do I need to zoom in or is it perfectly visible? Okay, 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 okay. So thanks. So yesterday we covered all these tags, right? So let us also see the demo. So whenever we say title, so when whatever we define in this tag, that will be over here. So here you can see title web dev 101, and coming down to the body part. Here we have defined h1. So as I mentioned that h1 is the largest tag among all the headings. So here also you can see this is h1 and this is h1. A recap of HTML empty elements. So whenever we want to, segregate some content on the web page, and we also want to differentiate among all the content, then we generally use a horizontal rule. So it is nothing but a kind of a horizontal line. So that is also an empty element which can be defined using HR. And we also learned about BR, which is line break. So here there is nothing but a line break. Now let us quickly jump to paragraph tag. So paragraph tag we also discuss about. So even if I have written something of less than the width of the screen, if I write something over here, then also it will go on the next line. So this is the main functionality of block element. And for an example, we placed B tag, the bold tag over here. So it is inside the paragraph tag, and it is not going on the next line. So that is something that is more about the functionality of block level and inline level elements. Now let's jump on to headings. So this is how the style and look and feel of the headings would look like. So H1, H1, we can very easily compare all the look and feel and the code of heading tags. And just to differentiate between those, I'm adding a horizontal rule. Now coming down to HTML formatting tags. So here also we can see the example of block and inline level elements. So if I save this, then even if we have written this on a different line, even if we leave 5 spaces, then also this will be side by side. So that is why we are going to use br tag, and we want it to be on the next line. And all these are inline elements. Next up we have strong element. So you can see that both bold and important tag, both bold and important text would be very similar to each in those are very similar, but later on the code part or on the browser part, it makes a difference. And so with the italic text and emphasized text too, both are shown in italics, but it has a different semantic meaning when it runs on the browser. Coming down to mark text. So as I mentioned that it's all about highlighting the text. So if I have mark tag between WebDev 101, then the WebDev 101 will be highlighted. And see, I have to stop after that, so that is not highlighted. Same with smaller text. So for an example, if you want a very small text that could be a subtitle or something, then we can generally use small text. Also, coming next to deleted text. So when we want a strike through on some kind of text, then we can use the del tag. And as mentioned during the presentation, that we have subscript and we have superscript. So we can so the subscript will be below the normal text part, and superscript will be above the normal text part. Okay. So now coming down to HTML list. So as we discussed, we have two different lists. We have ordered list and unordered list. So whenever we want to create order list, so we can simply write OL, which is ordered list, and we can write UL for unordered list. Ordered lists are generally numbered, and unordered lists are generally shown in bullets. You can do change the look and feel of this using CSS, which we can learn later on. Again, adding horizontal row. Let's see HTML links. Okay. So opens in existing tag. So for an example, as we saw that we have anchor tag. This is the this is the attribute to any kind of HTML element, and for anchor tag we have href. So whenever we pass the URL in href, and for an example, if we also want it to open on another tab, then we need to pass target underscore blank. So this might look very similar, but it does not make any kind of difference in the look of any HTML links, but it has a different functionality. Okay, it opened on this page, and this will open on another tab. Okay, a quick demo of HTML images. So as I mentioned, image is an empty tag, so we do not have any closing tag. We have src, which is so this is the URL of Google Developers logo, which is coming on from the database. Then we have also defined alt text. So if this logo gets displaced, or if the internet is not sufficient and logo is not displayed, then we can see Google Developers logo text written over here. We have defined 200 width and 200 height, but we can also quickly change that. Need to save, refresh the page, and see it got bigger. So I hope all these tags are clear till now. Just let me know quickly in the chat if there is something more that I need to discuss. Okay, okay, fair enough. So let's go to the next topic. Okay, so HTML tables. Now we can easily create tables using HTML tags, and tables are basically those are basically generally used to arrange data in rows and columns. Also, tables are block level elements, so they take up full width of the browser. And now inside tables, there are two different things to learn. One is table headings and another is table data. So generally, if you might have worked on Excel sheet, then you generally use the first row for all the heading part. You bold the headings, and then you generally write the data. We are also going to learn that in similar fashion. So by default, all the table headings are bold and all the table headings are centered. And in the table data, all the table data are left aligned by default. So we can also insert any kind of HTML element inside table data. It could be text, it could be images, it could also be a table inside a table, it could also be a list, and so on and so forth. Now let us see how we can create tables using HTML. So here we have the table tag. So whenever we want to create table, we need to wrap all the code inside the table tag. Then we have the table heading. So whenever we want to create headings inside table, then we need to use the table heading tag. And let us consider the table heading tag, right? And inside that we need to use a whole row. So we will use tr as a table row. So we can define a whole row using tr, and inside that we will use th, which is table heading. All of this code are also described over here, so you can also quickly check over here. So after completing the table head part, we will come to the body part, which is the data part. So tr is the table row. We are again defining a new row for inserting data. We have td, which is known as table data. So we are inserting. So we have two columns. First is first name, and the second column is last name. So we are adding Karthik to the first row of first column, and then we are adding Virasari to second column of first row. And here till here it is only the first row code. Then we'll also create another row, and we are inserting some other names and first name and last name. And this is how generally table is represented. We'll also see on the demo part how we can how we can create tables using HTML and how it looks on the web page. But let us first of all see HTML forms. Okay, uh, just a second. Okay, so forms are an important part of our daily web browsing. So as most of things are online, we generally fill up a lot of forms on our daily basis. So now let's see what are HTML forms and how we can create such forms, for an example, like Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. So let us see. Okay, so as mentioned, forms are used to collect user inputs. So it generally contains different kind of input fields. It could be a text field, it could be a checkbox, it could be a radio buttons, submit button, and so on and so forth. There are all different kind of input field types. Also, whenever we fill up a form, all the collected form data is generally sent to the server using form actions and HTTP methods. You will learn about form actions and HTTP methods later in the course part, when we will see how to write backend and how to write code on the server. We are not going to run a server right now, and we are not going to send the form data, but we'll see how to create a form. Okay, so this is the basic syntax of creating an HTML form. So everything needs to be wrapped inside form tag. So whenever we have a backend server attached to the form, then we can use form actions to send the data. We also need to define HTTP methods, which is get and post. And we as mentioned, we'll discuss about that on the later part of this tutorial. Hmm. And now coming down to input fields. So we generally have too many types of fields, and I'm sure you can relate to all these fields such as text, email, and so on and so forth. We also have URL, browser, password, not browser. So now let's see how we can actually create all such fields using HTML. So let me again quickly show the demo part instead of slides, because that makes more sense when we see HTML code. Okay, quickly discuss tables. So see, whenever we want to create a table, we need to wrap up in table tag, and inside those we have t head. So this is basically the heading of table, and inside that we have created a tr, which is table row. So this is one row, this is second row, and this is third row, and also it is occupying the whole space when you check that out. Then we have th. So when we write something, anything inside th, then we can see that in bold text, and it is also center aligned. Then we have t body, which has different rows, and it also has different data. So this is how it is placed, and all of these are left aligned. Table data is left aligned. Now coming down to HTML forms. So this is, as mentioned, this is the basic syntax for HTML form, and here we generally have different input fields, and then we have a submit button to send all the data to the server. Now let's create a form. So to create a form, we need to use a form tag, and inside form tag, as mentioned, we use generally all the input fields, and then we have a submit button. So there are different types of input fields, but the main thing is that here the input tag input HTML element is there. Let me. Yeah. Okay, so I hope the code is perfectly visible, right? Hmm. So we have label for each input tag, and all the form input fields revolves around label and input. As mentioned, we have different HTML attributes. So here, for is an attribute in label tag. Here, type equals to text, which is also an attribute. We have ID, we have name, we have placeholder. So whenever we want to create a input field where we can place some text, then we use input type equals to text. And whenever we want to give any specific ID, any unique ID to any kind of HTML element, then we use ID. And please make sure that each and every ID is unique. So that is how ID is used. And then we have name. So name attribute is necessary for sending all the data to the backend part. For now, we are not doing that, but this is a standard practice, and this is how it needs to be done. Also, this is an inline element, and that is why we are using the BR tag. So I'm sure now you are going to be an expert in defining which is an inline tag and which is a block level element. So we have text field, we have email. So whenever we want to tell the user that what you need to enter in such input fields, then we can use placeholder. So placeholder is something which will tell the user that whenever, even if it clears the value, then also it will say that okay, this is something what you need to do. Then we have input type equals to email. So whenever we want to collect email and password using maybe in a login form, then we need to use the email part. Then coming to number. So when we want some kind of quantity, or when we want a mobile number, some kind of data, then we need to use number. And uh, we can also define the minimum and maximum quantity. So here I might not be able to write any kind of text, but I can uh, choose numbers. Then comes the URL part. So we also have one specific for website URL, not website but URL. So when we want want any kind of URL, then we can use input type equals to URL, and same for password. So for password, it is having a different kind of behavior. So all the values inside the input field password will be hidden by default. Then we have HTML radio button. So if I want, for an example, if I give you three options and I want you to choose only one option, at that time you can use HTML radio buttons. So here again there are different types of attributes. So here the type equals to radio, and we have labels defined to each and every input type. And same goes for HTML checkbox. So here we have checkbox. So for an example, you might have seen that I want you to agree on all the terms and conditions, or I want you to, some kind of thing that I have bike or car. Then we generally use checkbox when we want multiple options to be chosen. So again, we use the type equals to checkbox. We add labels to it, and then we have different miscellaneous input fields. So we can also get color. So we can also get color from any kind of user. Whenever I click this kind of uh, color picker will be opened, and we can send RGB value or HSL value or hex value to the data to the database. We can also have date input, so we can choose these kind of dates, and all this kind of data will be sent to the server. And we can also upload any kind of file. So if I want others to upload a file, then this is how we can define the input type equals to file and get all the files on the server. And lastly, the last thing is HTML buttons. So whenever I want the user to submit all the form data, then we can use input type equals to submit, and we can use the value equals to submit. So if I want to say, even if I want to say login or something, then also we can use that using this by changing the values. Next thing is reset. So for an example, if I want a functionality that if the user has filled up the form and I want, if the user wants to reset it, then it will clear all the form data using the reset button. And if we want any different kind of functionality, for an example, if the user clicks the button and if I want if I want the color of this page to be red, then all these kind of different functionalities can be implemented using the button tag and using on click function. So if we define any kind of JavaScript function, so all that kind of things we can do using the button tag. So quick question, is everything clear in HTML practical labs? We'll take questions at the end, but just want to check if there's anything that I can describe over right now. Okay, so thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you have any questions regarding HTML, you can contact me on Discord channel. You can also send me a DM on Twitter, LinkedIn, or any kind of that. And we also have the GitHub repository. So you can also check that out if you want today's content or all the code files. Okay. Sorry, how did you make the spinner for calendar? I didn't get you. For which calendar? And can you explain the use of placeholder in label tag again, please? Okay. Oops. Okay. Give me a second, Harry. Let me clear Aditya's question. So whenever we want to let the user know that we want the user to enter some kind of data, it could be, for an example, we do have name, but if we want to tell him that enter your name, then we need to use placeholder for that. And we can also, for an example, mention in this way. Okay, instead of enter your email, we can say test@gmail.com. Or for an example, in number, if we want to, for an example, let us say, okay, we want them to use uh, the number, the country code, or if we don't want them to use the country code, so we can uh, show them some kind of demo text or some kind of descriptive text. And okay, next question. Okay, how did you create the spinner for calendar? Okay, so whenever you write, you just need to write, for an example, date. So whenever you write input type equals to date, this kind of structure is there by default. So you don't need to uh, create this manually. This is going to be done directly by the browser. It might look different on Chrome, Safari, and Firefox maybe, but that is by default by browser. Okay. Any more questions?